June the 4th, 2010, when Kyron Richard Horman, an American boy who disappeared from Skyline Elementary School in Portland, Oregon after attending a science fair. Local and state police, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, conducted an exhaustive search and launched a criminal investigation, but have not uncovered any significant information regarding the child's whereabouts. Horman's disappearance sparked the largest criminal investigation in Oregon history. Kyron was last seen wearing a black t-shirt with CSI in green lettering and a handprint image on the front of his shirt. Size 7 black cargo pants, white Hanes athletic socks, and size 11 black Skechers sneakers with orange trim. He usually rode the bus to Skyline Elementary School, where he was a second grader. The school is in the 11,500th block of Skyline Boulevard in a rural area in northwest Portland, about 2 miles from Kyron's home in the 15,700 block of Sheltered Nook Road. His stepmother, Terry Lynn Moulton Horman, stated she drove him to school because there was a science fair that day and Kyron wanted to set up his exhibit, a display about the red-eyed tree frog. They arrived shortly after 8 a.m. and dropped Kyron's coat and backpack off at his classroom. A witness saw Terry and Kyron together at 8:15 a.m. in front of Kyron's exhibit. The bell rang at 8:45 and Terry says she left then. She said Kyron was going to his classroom. He was never to be heard from again. Terry's statements to the police indicate after leaving the school at 8:45 a.m., she ran errands at two different Fred Meyer grocery stores until about 10:10 a.m. Between then and 11:39 a.m., she stated that she was driving her daughter around town in an attempt to use the motion of the vehicle to soothe the toddler's earache. Terry said that she then went to a local gym and exercised until about 12:40 p.m. By 1:21 p.m. she had arrived home and posted photos of Kyron at the science fair on Facebook. At approximately 3:30 p.m., Terry and her husband Kane walked with their daughter Kyra to the bus stop to meet Kyron. The bus driver told them that the boy had not boarded the bus and to call the school to ask of his whereabouts. Terry did so, only to be informed by the school secretary that, so far as anyone knew, Kyron had not been at the school since early that day and that he had been marked absent. Realizing that the boy was missing, the secretary called 911. Because so many hours had passed since he was last seen, police launched an extensive search immediately. Over the next few days, they interviewed all the students and staff at Skyline Elementary School and searched the school grounds and the surrounding area. It was one of the largest searches in Oregon history. Search efforts for Kyron were extensive and primarily focused on a 2-mile, 3.2-kilometer radius around Skyline Elementary and on Swabi Island, approximately 6 miles or 9.7 kilometers away. Law enforcement did not disclose their reasons for searching the area where they did, which included a search of Swabi Island Bridge. On June the 9th, 2010, the Horman family, who had initially refused to speak with the media, released a statement that said, Kyron's family would like to thank people for their support and interest in finding their son. The outpouring of support and continued effort strengthens their hope. We need for folks to continue to assist us in our goal. Please search your properties, cars, outbuildings, sheds, etc. Also check with neighbors and friends who may be on vacation or may need assistance in searching. There are a lot of resources here to help you search, so please don't stop. It is obviously a difficult time and they want to speak to the public so you can hear it from Kyron's family as they come together to share their message. Their objective is to keep the focus on Kyron and not about anything else. On June the 12th, around 300 trained rescuers were on the ground searching wooded areas near the school. The search for Kyron, which spanned over 10 days, was the largest and included 1,300 searchers from Oregon, Washington, and California. A reward posted for information leading to the discovery of Kyron was initially $25,000, which expanded to $50,000 in late July of 2010. Kyron's loved ones described him as timid and stated that he would be unlikely to leave the school and go off on his own. Kyron's parents, Kane Andrew Horman and Desiree Young, have been divorced since 2003. Terry and Kane married in 2007, but they had been together for several years before that. Terry raised Kyron from infancy, although he did visit with Desiree and his stepfather, Tony Young, every couple of weeks. Kane and Terry had a 1-year-old daughter, Kyra Ariel Horman, at the time of Kyron's disappearance, and Terry also has a teenage son from a previous marriage who was living with her parents in June 2010. Less than 2 weeks after Kyron's disappearance, police stopped the search and announced they had upgraded this case from a simple missing child to a criminal investigation. At the same time, they stated that they didn't think Kyron had been abducted by a stranger. They focused on Terry, stating cellular phone records indicated she wasn't where she said she was on the day of her stepson's disappearance. During the following days, the police released more information to the public. A landscaper who worked for the Horman family had told investigators that about 6 or 7 months before Kyron disappeared, Terry offered him money to kill her husband. When authorities notified Kane of this, the news prompted him to take Kyra and move out. The police attempted a sting, bringing the landscaper to Terry's door to demand money while undercover agents watched from nearby, but Terry called 911 instead to say someone was demanding $10,000 from her. 3 weeks after Kyron's disappearance, on June the 26th, 2010, Kane moved out of the family home. That same day, Terry placed 2 911 calls from their residence. The first one was at 5:17 p.m., and it was classified as a threats call. And the second was at 11:39 p.m., and that was classified as a child custody call. Kane wasn't home when either call was placed. Kane filed for divorce and a restraining order from Terry, saying he and the police believed she was responsible for Kyron's disappearance in addition to the attempted murder for hire. A judge barred Terry from contacting Kane, Kyron, Kiara, and her own teenage son. Kane sought custody of Kyra and child support from Terry. He accused Terry of attempting to abduct Kyra from her daycare 2 days after the restraining order was granted, of being in an affair with another man 4 days after Kane moved out, and of sharing sensitive information, including Kane's new address, with the man. Investigators questioned Terry's friend Dee Dee Speicher about her possible knowledge of Kyron's disappearance. They searched her home and asked the public if they had seen Terry, her white pickup truck, or Spincher on June the 4th between 9:45 a.m. and 1 p.m. Speicher stated he knew nothing about Kyron's disappearance, and she believed Terry was innocent of any wrongdoing. During this time, Terry failed 2 separate polygraph examinations regarding Kyron's disappearance. In August 2010, it was announced that law enforcement were seeking for an individual allegedly seen by 2 witnesses sitting inside Terry's truck outside of the Skyline Elementary the day of the disappearance. Bruce McCann, a former sheriff of the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, told CBS News the identity of that second person, if he or she existed, could be critical in determining what happened to Kyron after 9 a.m. on June the 4th. Meanwhile, in July 2010, the Multnomah County grand jury subpoenaed several friends of Terry, including Dee Dee Speicher, whom Young and Kane described as having been in close communication with Terry and providing Terry with support and advice that is not in the best interest of our son. According to law enforcement, Speicher was extremely cooperative and allowed a search of her property and her car, as well as enduring 3 hours of questioning from detectives. On the day of Kyron's disappearance, Speicher abruptly left her work gardening for a homeowner on Germantown Road in northwest Portland around 11:30 a.m. and returned approximately 90 minutes later. She also allegedly helped Terry purchase an untraceable cell phone. During this time, Speicher told journalists There's this horror that's my friend's going through. If I thought for 1 second she was capable of foul play, I would not have been there. She would not have been my friend in the first place. In mid-July, Terry moved to her hometown of Rosenberg, Oregon, and Kane and Kara moved back into their Portland house. In the early 2000 month of August, both Young and Kane were subpoenaed and testified during the grand jury hearing, as the school principal of Skyline Elementary was as well. By November 2010, the 29th, search efforts in Kyron's case had cost an estimated $1.4 million, according to the county commissioners, and yielded 4,257 tips. In December 2010, it was reported that the Oregonian had a grand jury and they had to provide compelling evidence yielding a potential indictment. Kane stated Terry suffered from postpartum depression after Kiara's birth and her behavior changed. In court documents, he claimed she is an alcoholic, she has a personality disorder, and she is severely emotionally disturbed. Kane said that he believed Kiara was not safe with her mother and may have witnessed whatever happened to Kyron on that day he disappeared. Some of Terry's acquaintances reported that she was angry with Kane for making her teenage son move out of their home, which he did in February 2010, 4 months before Kyron's disappearance. Desiree told reporters that she had attempted to get custody of Kyron prior to his disappearance, and that Kyron had told her several times that he wanted to come and live with her. In May 2012, Desiree filed a lawsuit against Terry, accusing her of kidnapping Kyron and seeking $10 million in damages. She has asked the court to order Terry to return Kyron or say where his body is. The Horman's divorce is pending. Authorities have yet to name a suspect in Kyron's disappearance. In spite of their focus on his stepmother, Kane speculated Terry caused the child's disappearance in an effort to hurt him and suggested she may have had help from another individual. Both of Kyron's parents continue to hope that he is alive. His case remains unsolved. On June 1, 2012, Young filed a civil lawsuit against Terry, claiming that she was responsible. On August the 15th, 2012, a federal court judge denied a motion by Terry to delay the lawsuit. In early October 2012, Spicer refused to answer any of the 142 questions posed to her during a deposition regarding Young's lawsuit. Among these questions were several regarding Spicer's whereabouts on June the 4th, 2010, and her contact with Terry that day. She also declined to identify a photo of Kyron, whether she had met him before or not, and whether she knew his father, Kane. During testimony provided by Kane in a separate hearing that same year, he stated that police had told him that they have probable cause to think Terry Horman was involved in Kyron's disappearance than they did 2 years ago. On July the 30th, 2013, it was announced that Young had dropped the lawsuit against Terry so as not to interfere with the ongoing police investigation. In May 2017, it was reported by Portland station KGW that a secret grand jury panel continued to hear evidence in Kyron's disappearance and had conveyed it on multiple occasions. During the report, Kyron's case was described as still active and ongoing. 2 months later, in July of 2017, law enforcement conducted further searches along Skyline Boulevard, but the searches yielded no results. In June 2018, Young posted on the official Find Kyron Horman Facebook page, "Stay tuned, something big is coming, I promise you." Kyron Richard Horman was born to Desiree Young and Kane Horman, an engineer for Intel. The couple divorced 8 months into Young's pregnancy with Kyron, and with Young citing irreconcilable differences. The two had been granted shared custody of Kyron until 2004, but when Young was diagnosed with kidney failure, that required extensive medical intervention, so Kane took over full custody. Notwithstanding this fact, Young still remained an active part of the child's upbringing. In 2007, Kane remarried Kane married Terry Moulton, born on March the 14th, 1970, a substitute teacher originally from Rosenberg. Kane became romantically involved with Terry around 2001 when he and Desiree were in the midst of divorcing. They married in 2007 while visiting Hawaii. In 2008, in December, Terry gave birth to a daughter, Kiara. Meanwhile, Kyron was a student at Skyline Elementary School near Forest Park. Kyron was born on September the 9th, 2002 in Oregon, and he is a white male, 3 feet 8 inches tall, weighing approximately 50 pounds. He has brown hair, blue eyes, and wears metal-framed glasses, and he is allergic to bee stings. If you have any information concerning this case, please contact the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office at 503-823-3333 or 503-261-2847. You can also call the local tip line at 503-261-2847 or your local FBI office or the nearest American embassy or consulate.